The world is burning. You scroll, you rage, you react. A comment, a headline, a look. You're not in control. You just think you are. They want you distracted, emotional, weak. Because a man who feels everything can be controlled. But what if you could flip the script? What if you could feel nothing and control everything? For thousands of years, empires have risen and fallen. Kings have been betrayed, legacies erased. But there's one thing that survives it all. One philosophy, born in chaos. Stoicism, but not the classroom kind, not the sanitized quotes. I'm talking about real Stoicism, the kind forged in battle, in exile, in chains, the kind that doesn't make you feel better. It makes you untouchable. You want to stop being used? You want to stop being ruled by moods, impulses, likes, lies? Then listen carefully. Because what you're about to learn isn't nice. It isn't comforting. And it sure as hell isn't popular. It's power. 10 Stoic codes. Each one a weapon. You won't like them. But if you live by them, nothing will affect you again. Not heartbreak, not failure, not chaos. You will own yourself. And once you do, no one else ever will. This isn't philosophy. This is survival. Code 1. Emotion is a weakness unless you own it. We live in the age of outrage, and everyone is addicted. Rage is monetized. Tears get clicks. Every reaction is currency. But for you, reaction is weakness. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. They think strength means shouting louder, posting faster, arguing harder. But the Stoic, he watches, he waits. He understands a simple truth. You can't control what hits you, only how you hit back, or if you hit back at all. Because the moment you need to respond, the moment they can push your buttons, is the moment they own you. Feel nothing. Control everything. When something upsets you today, pause. Don't reply. Don't react. Just observe. Win the moment. Own the emotion. Code 2. Kill the approval addiction. They told you to chase your dreams, but they forgot to mention you'd be chasing approval instead. Likes, shares, applause, validation, dressed up as love. You don't need their likes. You need inner peace. But inner peace doesn't trend. It doesn't get engagement. It doesn't stroke your ego. It just is. You can't be free if you're addicted to what people think of you, because their opinions become your prison. And no, this isn't a motivational poster. It's war. Every time you check your reflection in someone else's eyes, you give them the weapon. They were never applauding you. They were applauding the mask. Burn it. Post nothing today. Say nothing to impress. Watch who you become when there's no one watching. Code 3. Turn pain into power. Pain doesn't care who you are. It finds everyone. But what you do with pain, that's power. Viktor Frankl survived a Nazi death camp. His family was murdered, his body starved, but his mind was untouchable. He didn't escape suffering. He used it. Stoicism doesn't deny pain. It harnesses it. Your heartbreak, your loss, your failure. That's fuel. You can cry about it, or you can build with it. Pain is raw material. Shape it. Most people wait for things to feel right before they act. But Stoics act in spite of feeling. Because waiting for motivation, that's how you stay broken. Take the thing that broke you and write one sentence, not about what it did to you, but what it taught you. That's the first brick. Now build. Code 4. Master the inner voice. This is where the war starts, not in the world, but in your own head. I'm not good enough. She doesn't care. I'm a failure. It's over. Not your enemies, your thoughts. And if you don't master them, they will master you. The Stoics knew this long before psychology caught up. They called it cognitive distancing. Today, we call it spiraling. Anxiety isn't always about what's real. It's about what's imagined, projected, obsessed over. You think you're reacting to life, but you're reacting to a story your mind wrote and convinced you was truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke." He didn't mean ignore reality. He meant question it. Every time a thought arises, interrogate it like a hostile witness. Is this true? Can I prove this? What if the opposite is just as real? Because your mind is a courtroom, and you're the judge. Let weak thoughts collapse under pressure. Next time a negative thought hits, don't react. Label it a story. Then ask, what would a Stoic do right now? That's your new baseline. Code 5. Detach or be dragged. They told you to hold on, to fight for it, to care more. But the Stoic knew, sometimes the only power left is letting go. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Craving, clinging, attachment to what must not change, but always does. What drags you isn't loss, it's your refusal to detach. You think you're loyal, but you're just chained to a version of the past that no longer exists. Everything ends. Jobs, people, moments. Even your own body will betray you one day. That's not a tragedy. That's the contract you signed with life. And here's the trap. Most people suffer not because things change, but because they expected them to stay the same. Let go or be dragged. Pick one thing you're clinging to, a person, a memory, a title. Ask, who am I without this? Then, breathe. You'll still be here. Code 6. Control time or be owned by it. Here's the dark truth no one wants to hear. Your life is ticking away, and you scroll like it's infinite. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You think time is a resource, but time is your life, and you're bleeding it out for entertainment. You procrastinate because you believe there's more time tomorrow, but one day there won't be. You're not too tired, you're too distracted, you're not too busy, you're just not honest. Marcus Aurelius ran an empire and still carved time to write, to reflect, to think. What's your excuse? Stoicism doesn't beg for time. It commands it. Control your schedule or be controlled by impulse. Make time visible. Make choices deliberate. Because most people don't die too soon. They just live too late. Before bed, write down tomorrow's top 3 priorities. Then cut one. Force clarity. Win the day before it starts. Code 7. Choose discomfort daily. The soft die first. That's the rule no one dares to say out loud, because we've built a world of cushions and called it safety. Air conditioning, comfort food, endless dopamine on demand. But the Stoics knew comfort is a trap. It makes you fragile, and when the storm comes, it will. You either train in hardship or be broken by it. Seneca didn't just write about adversity. He rehearsed it. Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, and say to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" Fasting, cold, solitude. He practiced poverty while rich, so that if life took everything, he'd still have his mind. This wasn't suffering. This was training. The world wants you soft. The Stoic becomes unbreakable. Take one comfort away this week. Skip a meal. Take the cold shower. Prove to yourself you are not your cravings. Code 8. Learn to love the fire. Most people run from suffering. The Stoic walks into it, smiling. Why? Because if pain is coming anyway, why not learn to love the fire? The words are ancient. Amor fati. Love of fate, not just acceptance, not just endurance, but devotion to every part of life, especially the brutal ones. Think of someone who lost everything, the job, the partner, the health, the home, and they didn't flinch. Why? Because they realize something most never do. What breaks most men builds the few who don't. The Stoics flipped pain into fuel. They reframed the collapse as construction, not why me, but good, now we begin. Fire isn't the enemy, it's the forge. Find the one thing this week that frustrates you most. Now flip it. What is it teaching you? Now say it out loud. Amor fati. Code 9. Silence is a weapon. Everyone is talking, arguing, posting, ranting, begging to be heard. But the Stoic waits, because silence isn't weakness. Silence is warfare. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In a world addicted to noise, the quiet man terrifies people. Because you don't know what he's thinking. You can't predict his next move, and that makes him dangerous. He who talks less controls more. You think being loud is power? Real power is calm, deliberate, unmoved. In every room, the most powerful man is the one who doesn't need to speak. And here's the trap. The more you explain yourself, the more they own you. The Stoic speaks less and watches more. Because when you say nothing, you force the world to reveal itself. For one day, speak 50% less. Say only what is essential. Let silence do the work. Code 10. Die before you die. Here's the final code. The one most fear, but the one that frees you completely. Memento mori. Remember death. Because every moment you forget it, you waste your life on things that don't matter. The Stoics stared death in the face every day, not out of morbidity, but mastery. Seneca said, "Rehearse this thought daily. You may not wake tomorrow." You want perspective? Here it is. You're dying. Now what? No more waiting. No more permission seeking. No more meaningless distractions. Because when you accept death, you fear nothing. And when you fear nothing, you become unstoppable. You've already been born. So do the only thing left. Die before you die. And live like your time is yours. Write down your death sentence. If I died in 3 months, what would I stop tolerating? Now go live like the clock's real. You don't need to feel everything. You need to control everything. Within you. That's the code. Your thoughts, your time, your reactions, your emotions, your vices, your impulses, all of it, yours to govern. Or someone else will. Code 1. Emotion is a weakness unless you own it. Code 2. Kill the approval addiction. Code 3. Turn pain into power. Code 4. Master the inner voice. Code 5. Detach or be dragged. Code 6. Control time or be owned by it. Code 7. Choose discomfort daily. Code 8. Learn to love the fire. Code 9. Silence is a weapon. Code 10. Die before you die. These aren't quotes. These aren't ideas. These are codes. Built from men who faced exile, torture, humiliation, war, and stayed composed. And you're worried about a mean comment, a late email, a slow start. You say you want control, but do you train for it, or do you scroll? Because now, it's your move. Will you scroll away, like this was just another dopamine hit? or will you apply? If you made it here, you're not average. Average quit at code 2. Average tapped out at discomfort. Average doesn't make it to the end. You did. Now prove it. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fearless. But if you want peace, real peace, it won't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from owning yourself. So make your move. Share this with someone who's ready. They talk. They post. They flex. Every day, the world screams louder. Look at me. Like me. Follow me. But let me ask you something. What if the real power isn't in being seen, but in being ignored? What if the loudest voice in the room is also the weakest, and the strongest person you know doesn't need to say a word? The people making the most noise, rarely the ones getting the most done. The ones who move in silence, they're building empires, while everyone else chases attention. This isn't about hustle. This isn't about motivation. This is about disappearing on purpose, shutting the world out, choosing grind over glory. Because here's the truth. If you need applause to keep going, you'll stop the moment it's quiet. This video, it's not for people chasing hacks. It's not for those looking for another boost of motivation. This is for the ones who are done talking, who are ready to go dark, put their heads down, and get to work. Be quiet. Work hard. Let's talk about why that might be the most dangerous move you'll ever make, and why Stoic philosophy has known it all along. Silence isn't weakness. It's not passivity. It's a weapon. Sharpened by time, discipline, self-control. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man on earth, didn't spend his nights pleasing senators. He wrote to himself, alone, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's it. That's the whole game. You don't talk your way into greatness. You work your way into it, quietly, deliberately. No need for claps, no need for followers. Epictetus, a slave who became a philosopher, said, "Be silent as to services you have rendered, but speak of favors you have received." Because bragging feeds the ego, but gratitude feeds the soul. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, said it sharper. Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue. You can recover from a stumble, but say too much, and it's out there, forever. Words are like arrows. Once fired, they don't return. The Stoics understood silence is where the mind resets, where clarity happens, where intent replaces impulse. But today, we fill every second with noise. Can't sit in a room without checking a screen. Can't let ourselves be bored. But boredom, that's just silence trying to teach you something, and most people too distracted to hear it. You don't have to announce every move. You don't need to explain your dreams. Silence protects your energy. It keeps your power contained. Because when the moment comes, you don't want to react. You want to strike. Think about it. Who's the most dangerous person in the room? The one yelling? Or the one watching? The quiet one? Thinking? Planning? Moving in silence? So here's a challenge. Try one day without posting, without announcing. Let your wins stay private. Let your goals stay yours. Let your results talk when the time is right. But first, say nothing. Just work. We talk about motivation, but motivation is soft. It fades. What you need, a reason, discipline, grit, and above all, work. Stoicism doesn't promise comfort. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It says, do your duty, fulfill your role, regardless of how you feel. Marcus Aurelius again. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. Not a machine, not a robot, a human. built for effort. This isn't hustle culture. This is older, deeper. Show up, especially when no one's watching. Because the work itself is the reward, not the praise, not the outcome, not the likes. Just the act of doing what needs to be done every single day without complaining. And that mindset, it's rare because we live in a world obsessed with shortcuts, with hacks. But there is no shortcut. Hard work is the hack. And the Stoics knew this. They didn't dream about results. They focused on input. What can I control today? My choices, my attitude, my effort. That's it. The rest? Not up to you. Look at those you admire. They all have one thing in common. They disappeared while everyone else was showing off. They were showing up. In the gym, in the studio, in the shadows. First one in, last one out. No noise, just work. Kobe Bryant, J.K. Rowling, David Goggins. Different worlds, same principle. They didn't need attention, they needed progress. So how do you build that? Start small, do it daily, wake up, no matter how you feel. Show up, especially when it's boring. Say no, even when it's tempting. Set boundaries, build routines. Repeat, without applause, because no one's coming to save you. No one's handing you peace, success, fulfillment. You have to earn it, alone, in silence. Be quiet, work hard. Not a quote, a lifestyle. Silence and labor, two forces, individually powerful, but together, unstoppable. Because silence without labor is just dreaming, and labor without silence is just noise. But silence with labor, that's mastery, that's alignment, that's momentum with direction. Every master had their silent season. They went dark, not depressed, just deliberate. They said less, posted less, worked more. Musashi, in a cave, wrote The Book of Five Rings. Tesla, alone in a hotel room, inventing the future in silence. Cal Newport wrote Deep Work, no social media, just pages. They all did one thing, withdrew to create, went quiet to go deep. Now ask yourself, where are you making noise instead of progress? Is it the scroll, the updates, the performative busyness? Be honest. Now imagine this. You disappear for 6 months, mentally, silently. You speak less, scroll less, work more, on one thing, with everything you've got. What happens? You already know, because that version of you is waiting. But it requires one thing, quiet and work. Now grab a notepad, write down 3 things. 1, the noise stealing your time. 2, the work that needs your quiet. 3, one decision to start. Today, not next week. Today, silence, labor. One grounds you, the other moves you. Together, they build you, so you're ready to go quiet. You're ready to work hard. But there's a problem. The world won't shut up. Your phone buzzes. You open Instagram. One reel turns into 10. A friend texts you. You respond, then swipe through news. Before you know it, an hour is gone. You didn't rest. You didn't build. You didn't grow. You just drifted. And this is the war of our time. Distraction isn't an accident anymore. It's the product. Your focus is for sale. Think about that. The brightest minds in Silicon Valley aren't working to help you focus. They're working to break it, to fracture it, to monetize it. Stoicism predicted this. Not the tech, of course, but the distraction, the chaos, the temptation to leave your lane. Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. You know what he meant? He meant stop performing. Stop trying to be seen. Stop needing to respond to every ping and prove your point in every thread. Be content to be invisible if it means you're doing the real work. Seneca said it even cleaner. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. Let that hit. Every time you multitask, you fracture. Every app you bounce between fragments you. You start losing the very thing that makes you powerful, your attention. Because here's the truth they don't tell you. Focus is the new superpower. Not intelligence, not connections, not even talent. Just the ability to sit down and do the thing. And if you can't, someone else will, and they'll win. So how do we fix it? Let's get practical. First, audit the noise. Pull out your phone, look at your screen time. No shame, no denial, just data. Ask, what's draining me? What am I consuming that doesn't help me build, grow, or breathe? Be ruthless. You're not weak for being distracted. You're just being attacked by the most addictive tools ever made. Second, reclaim your inputs. Your mind is not a trash can. You don't have to let every opinion, update, and controversy live in your head. Replace doom scrolling with journaling, reacting with reading, consuming with creating. Make time sacred again. 1 hour, every day. No noise, no pings, no just a quick check. Just work. Deep, focused work. Watch what happens. Third, build a fortress. This is where Stoicism really shines, because it's not about being perfect. It's about preparing. Marcus Aurelius started each morning reminding himself of all the distractions he'd face, the fools, the liars, the chaos. But instead of complaining, he braced for it. You can do the same. Before you start your day, ask, what distractions are coming? What's my plan to stay in the pocket when they hit? Put your phone in another room, set timers for focused sessions, use blockers, say no, go analog if you need to. Build the conditions for discipline to win. And finally, guard your mind like it's gold, because it is. Your ability to think deeply, work silently, and stay focused, that's your edge. That's what separates the amateurs from the builders, the loud from the dangerous. You don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer, more deliberate, more private, more consistent. So here's your action plan. Right now, before you move on, write down. 1. The top 3 distractions that eat your time. Be honest. Is it TikTok, YouTube, that group chat that never stops? 2. The one habit you'll replace it with this week. Not 10, just 1. Something that moves you forward. 3. A 7-day commitment. 7 days of silence, 7 days of work, 7 days of focus. That's it. Start small. Start now. Start quiet. Because the world wants your attention. But your future wants your focus. And only one can win. Discipline doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. And Stoicism? It's not a concept to read and admire. It's a code to live by every single day. Let's get real for a minute. You don't become focused by waiting to feel motivated. You don't become unshakable by reading one quote. You become dangerous, respected, by what you do on the days nobody's watching. That's the core of Stoic living. So let's break it down. No fluff, no noise, just daily, repeatable actions that build resilience, grit, and clarity. 1. Morning. Own your first hour. This is where everything begins. Before the phone, before the emails, before the opinions of the world start crawling into your head. Own your silence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive." That's not poetry. That's a primer. You don't start your day by chasing. You start it by grounding. Here's a simple morning ritual. Silence, 10 mins. Sit in stillness, no music, no noise, just you and your breath. Let your mind settle before the world stirs it. Intentions, 5 mins. Grab a notebook. Write one question. What do I want from today, and what will try to steal it from me? Predict the chaos. Name the temptation. Set your compass. One task, 15 minutes. Pick your most important task. Start it before the world wakes, before distraction strikes. Momentum is born in these quiet early hours. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You just need intentionality. Win your morning. Win the war. 2. Midday. Pause to recalibrate. Most people hit noon and coast. You recalibrate. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That means midday isn't about reacting. It's about realigning. Ask yourself, am I working on what matters or what's easiest? Have I let someone else's noise pull me off track? Am I acting out of principle or emotion? Take 5 minutes. Step away. Breathe. Check your direction. Return with precision. 3. Evening. Reflect ruthlessly. Here's the truth. If you don't evaluate the day owns you. You lose the lessons. You repeat the same patterns, and nothing changes. That's why every Stoic practiced evening reflection. Seneca once said, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day, every night, without fail." Here's your evening ritual. Ask the hard questions. Where did I fall short? Where did I show strength? What moment today felt aligned with who I want to become? Write it down. Just a few sentences. No judgment, no excuses, only honesty. Recommit. One tweak for tomorrow. One thing you'll protect. One habit you'll double down on. You don't need motivation, you need measurement. Daily. 4. Mindfulness. Reinforce the code. Let's be clear. Stoicism isn't about emotionless living. It's about clarity. And you don't get clarity without stillness, without breathing, without returning to the present. So build small mindfulness reps into your day. Transitions. Before switching tasks, pause for 30 seconds. Breathe, let go, begin fresh. Triggers. Pick a trigger. Email, traffic, bad news. Instead of reacting, observe. Say, "This is the test I prepared for." Presence drills. Once a day, go for a 5-minute walk without your phone. Just notice what's around you. Reconnect with your surroundings, your breath, yourself. These tiny rituals, they reclaim your awareness. They quiet the noise. They sharpen the edge. And here's what it all adds up to. A life that's not reactive, but intentional. A rhythm built on silence, action, reflection. Not performance, not hustle porn, just real inner work. Every day you build, you get sharper, quieter, more grounded, less swayed by noise, more loyal to the mission, not because the world told you to, but because you decided to live by a code. Your code. Let's take a breath. You've made it this far, not by accident. You stayed. You listened. You felt the pull of something deeper. Not the kind of motivation that fizzles in 10 minutes, but the kind that reaches in and grabs your spine. The kind that says, there's work to be done, and it starts with you. So here's what we've uncovered. Silence isn't weakness. It's a weapon. It lets you hear what matters. It lets you see what others miss. Hard work isn't just about sweat. It's about integrity, about showing up every day, especially when no one's clapping. Discipline is built in quiet corners of your life. Early mornings, late nights, quiet reflections. And Stoicism? It's not an old idea. It's a survival kit for a chaotic world. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. They weren't trying to be influencers. They were fighting to stay centered in a world that pulled them in every direction. Sound familiar? The noise hasn't gone away. It's louder now, but the solution is the same. Be quiet. Work hard. Stay grounded. Here's your challenge. Build a daily ritual. Make it small, but keep it sacred. Cut one major distraction this week. Reclaim that energy. Reflect every evening, even if it's just one sentence. Not next year, not Monday, tonight. And if this message hits something real inside you, don't let it stay in your head. Use it. Leave a comment. Share the one thing you're going to change. Not for me, for you. For the version of you that's tired of being scattered, loud, and stretched thin. Subscribe if you're building this code with us. More like this is coming. No fluff, no hype, just the tools, just the truth. Be quiet. Work hard. Let me ask you something. Who's really in charge? You or your emotions? Because if every mood swings you, if every text, headline, or comment can throw off your entire day, then you're not leading your life. Your emotions are. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we dive deep into ancient wisdom for modern power. Not fluff, not hype, just real tools to build clarity, control, and calm in a chaotic world. So if you're tired of being pulled around by your own reactions, if you want to stop falling into the same emotional patterns over and over, hit subscribe, stick around, because this channel is about mastering your mind before the world does it for you. Now let's get into it. We live in a time where emotional expression is praised, but emotional discipline, that's almost forgotten. You're told to feel everything, speak your truth, let it all out. But what if that's the trap? What if that's exactly what's keeping you reactive? Easy to provoke, and ultimately easy to control. The Stoics knew this centuries ago. He who angers you controls you. Epictetus. That's not just a quote, that's a warning. Because every time you let something outside, you dictate what happens inside you, you've handed over your power. So if you've ever lost your cool and instantly regretted it, if stress leaves you drained and directionless, if your peace is constantly being hijacked by other people's words or actions, this video isn't just content, it's a blueprint for freedom. Let's talk about Stoic energy mastery, what it really means to take your power back, and how to stop being a slave to your emotions. Every day, in ways both obvious and invisible, you are being tested. A rude comment, a delay you didn't expect. Someone dismisses your idea in a meeting. You get interrupted while speaking. Your plans fall apart at the last minute. And in that moment, something flares up. Frustration, disappointment, anger, that subtle sting of not being respected. And just like that, you react. You tense up. You raise your voice. You shut down. You give away control. It doesn't feel like a choice, but it is. And the truth is, most people have trained themselves to react instantly, without reflection. Not because they're weak, but because they've never learned another way. What if I told you this has been happening for centuries? That power, real power, has always been about one thing: who controls their emotions and who doesn't. The Stoics understood this long before our modern world put it under a microscope. He who angers you controls you. Epictetus. That wasn't just a warning, it was a challenge. Because what happens when your anger becomes predictable? What happens when your disappointment is expected? What happens when people know exactly what to say or do to get a reaction out of you? You become easy to read, easy to move, easy to manipulate. Most people walk through life reacting to everything that bumps into them, like leaves in the wind, tossed around by other people's behavior. instead of anchored by their own values. They let someone else's bad mood ruin their morning. They let rejection shake their self-worth. They let one moment define an entire day. That's not just exhausting. That's enslavement. And here's the dangerous part. The more you give your emotions full control, the less stable you become, mentally, physically, even spiritually. You feel it in your energy. You feel it in your relationships. You feel it in your sense of purpose. You weren't meant to be reactive to everything. You were meant to be deliberate, disciplined, calm under pressure. Not numb, but grounded. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about putting them in their proper place. It's about this. If you are disturbed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Marcus Aurelius. So here's the question. Do you really know what's disturbing you? Is it the situation or your judgment of it? That gap between what happens and what you feel. That's the space where freedom lives. And most people, they never even enter it. But you're not most people. You're here to reclaim that space, to train your response, to stop being emotionally predictable and start becoming unshakable. Let's get something straight. Your emotions, they don't just happen to you. You're not angry and for no reason. You're not scared out of nowhere. You're not anxious just because the world is chaotic. There's something underneath, always. See, the Stoics had a radical belief, one that flips modern thinking on its head. Your emotions don't come from events. They come from your judgments about those events. It's not the thing that upsets you. It's the story you tell yourself about it. That comment didn't hurt you. It was your belief that it was disrespectful, that silence didn't cause panic. It was your belief that it meant rejection, that change in plans didn't create anger. It was your belief that you lost control. The emotion is real, but the cause, it's not the moment, it's the meaning. And here's the twist most people never stop to consider. You created that meaning automatically, without thinking, milliseconds. That's all it takes. Anger, fear, jealousy, embarrassment. They don't appear like lightning. They're constructed instantly from beliefs you often don't even realize you hold. Let me give you an example. Two people get cut off in traffic. One curses, slams the wheel, and stays angry for an hour. The other barely reacts, adjusts their speed, and moves on with their day. Same event, different judgment. One saw it as a personal attack. They disrespected me. The other saw it as meaningless. Maybe they're in a rush. The only difference was the story in their mind. That's what Stoicism trains you to see. That space between event and emotion, between stimulus and story, because in that space is where your freedom lives. Modern thinking tells you to feel it all, express it all, validate every emotion. And yes, feelings should be acknowledged. But Stoicism says, before you express it, examine it. Before you act on it, question it. What exactly am I reacting to? What belief is underneath this feeling? Is it true? Or just a habit I picked up? You start to realize you're not mad at the world. You're mad at the way you're interpreting the world. And interpretation, that's something you can change. It's not easy. It takes discipline. But that's where real power begins. So the next time you feel that rise, the heat of anger, the grip of fear, the pull of resentment, stop. Don't suppress it, but don't obey it either. Interrogate it. Where did this come from? What story did I just tell myself? because the emotion is just the echo. The judgment is the source. And when you master your judgments, you master your life. Most of your emotional pain doesn't come from what's happening. It comes from wanting to control things you were never meant to hold. Think about it. You try to change how people think of you. You obsess over someone else's decision. You replay a conversation in your head, hoping it went differently. You stress over outcomes you can't predict or prevent. You reach, you grip, you struggle, and you suffer. The Stoics taught a brutally clear principle, one that can change your life the moment you actually live by it. Focus only on what's in your control and release everything else. Simple to understand, incredibly hard to practice. Because the truth is, we want to control everything. Certainty, approval, stability. We want the world to behave in a way that feels safe and predictable. But that's not life. That's fantasy. Life will surprise you. People will disappoint you. Plans will break. And none of that is a threat, unless you believe it shouldn't happen. That's where suffering begins, in resistance. Let me ask you this. How much of your mental energy is spent trying to control things that aren't yours? Other people's actions, how someone responds to your message, whether you get chosen, promoted, praised. Now ask yourself this. What is in your control right now? Your thoughts, your choices, your effort, your tone, your breath. And when you return to that space, the space of control, something powerful happens. You stop chasing, you stop pleading, you start leading. Here's a simple exercise. Don't skip it. Grab a pen, a journal, a napkin, anything. Write down 3 things that you are emotionally attached to that are completely outside your control. It could be someone else's opinion of you, whether someone comes back, a promotion, a number, a result. Now look at each one and ask yourself, what do I gain by holding on to this? Then ask, what could I become if I let it go? Letting go isn't giving up. It's choosing where your energy belongs. Because the time you spend chasing what's outside your control, that's time you're not spending on what is. You could be learning, creating, strengthening your mind, improving your response, building your values, becoming unshakable. But instead, you're emotionally invested in variables you don't own. And that's how we stay stuck. That's how we burn out. Not from the weight of life, but from carrying things we were never meant to lift. So next time life tests you, a delay, a rejection, a harsh word, a shift in plans, pause. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go. And if the answer is yes, master it. That's not apathy. That's power. That's stoic energy. Calm, clean, clear. And the more you practice it, in small moments every day, the more unshakable you become. There's always a moment, just a flicker of time, between what happens and what you do next. Most people never see it. They move, straight from trigger to reaction. An insult, react. An inconvenience, react. A tone, a look, a pause, react. They call it being real. But it's not real. It's untrained. That instant, between stimulus and response, that's power. And most people, they give it away for free. The Stoics didn't teach suppression. They didn't teach numbness. They taught you to pause. Because in that pause, you regain control. Not of the world, of yourself. Let's be honest. You don't need to be emotionless. You need to be unshakable. No longer a puppet. No longer saying, I couldn't help it. You can help it. You just haven't practiced. Imagine it. Same moment. Someone yells, public, loud, accusing. Version 1, you flare up, match fire with fire, walk away drained. Version 2, You pause, you breathe, you choose, and you walk away clean. Same situation, different outcome. One reaction takes, one response builds. This is the practice, not when it's easy. When it's hard, that's where discipline lives. In the fire, in the friction, in the storm. Every time you choose response over reaction, you get stronger. You remind yourself, I am not owned by moods. I am not ruled by noise. I am not hijacked by heat. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Not a quote, a way. Every day, life will bait you to react. Don't take it. Respond with clarity, with calm, with mastery. That's the shift. From emotion as weakness to emotion as fuel. Not shutdown, training, not suppression, sovereignty. That's Stoic energy, clean, calm, dangerous in its precision. The Stoic doesn't ask, why me? They ask, okay, now what? Not denial, direction. Let me tell you a story. 10 years, one company, early mornings, late nights, loyal, committed. Then one Friday, cold room meeting, no warning, just gone, no paycheck, no identity, no plan. He almost broke, almost. But the next morning, he asked a different question. What is this trying to teach me? That question changed everything. He wasn't rejected. He was redirected. It wasn't punishment. It was a prompt to stop living on autopilot, to start building his own life. He didn't collapse. He constructed. Loss became leverage. Setback became fuel. Pain became focus. That is Stoic reframing. Life won't explain itself. It won't label what's good or bad. That's your job. You assign the story. You give it shape. Most people attach to pain. This is who I am now. This always happens to me. The Stoic, they train in it. Not punishment, preparation, not surrender, strategy. Your heartbreak, your failure, your silence, it's all feedback. But only if you frame it that way. Here's a question. What's the opportunity inside this obstacle? It's always there, always, but only if you look. Pain doesn't make you stronger. Your response does. The Stoics felt tragedy too. They just refused to waste it, and neither should you. Let's talk about one of the most overlooked tools. No tech, no audience, just you and the page. Marcus Aurelius didn't write a bestseller. He wrote for battle. The battle inside. Journaling wasn't performance. It was a mirror, a daily tune-up, a weapon. 2 questions every morning. 1, what is within my control today? 2, what would a wise person do? The first cuts noise. The second elevates response. You stop reacting. You start aiming, and you rehearse that version of you daily. It becomes real because you will be tested today, tomorrow, always. Not a matter of if, a matter of how ready you are. Journaling doesn't protect you from chaos. It prepares you for it. It's mental weightlifting. 5 minutes, 2 questions, total alignment, mastery, in silence. Your emotions aren't the enemy. They're raw energy, untamed. Most waste them. The Stoic uses them. Anger becomes action. Sadness becomes awareness. Fear becomes fuel. This is emotional alchemy. You don't suppress, you channel. Not a stone, a sculptor. And what you shape becomes motion, becomes clarity. This isn't cold. This is controlled. Fire comes. You forge with it. That's the power of response. Now let's get real. You want to stay calm under pressure? Train under pressure. Don't wait for chaos. Prepare for it. Strength isn't built in comfort. It's built in quiet resistance. The kind no one sees. The kind no one claps for. It's the tiny decisions. Not arguing, even when you could. Listening, even when it's hard. Saying no, when yes is easier. These are small, but they stack, because if you can't sit with tension, how will you stand in chaos? The Stoic chooses discomfort voluntarily. Why? Because when it's no longer optional, they've already been there. And here's your challenge. Find one small thing today that tests your patience. Face it, not to prove anything, but to remember, you were not built for ease. You were built for more. There is a part of you that watches everything, not the part that reacts, not the one that speaks first, not the one that panics, scrolls, or judges. Something deeper, quieter, constant, the watcher. It sees the thoughts race through your head and stays still. It sees the emotions rise, but doesn't get pulled under. It sees the world spin and chooses not to spin with it. That part of you, that quiet presence behind your eyes, that's your Stoic self. Most people never meet it. They're too busy identifying with every thought, every impulse, every wave of emotion. But once you become aware of that inner observer, you never see life the same way again. You begin to notice you are not your reactions. You are not your reputation. You are not your to-do list or your relationship status or your latest mistake. You are the awareness behind all of it. And when you live from that place, you stop being dragged through life by every feeling. You don't suppress emotions. You see them. You don't run from pain. You study it. You don't chase calm. You realize you already have it. Pause. Let it breathe. Meditation isn't just about silence. It's about witnessing. It's about stepping out of the storm and seeing clearly. The storm isn't you. Try this. At some point today, sit for 5 minutes. No phone, no talking, no input. Just sit and watch. Watch what your mind tries to do. Watch where it goes and say nothing. That's silence. That's stillness. That's not emptiness. That's you. And once you learn to live from there, not just visit it, but operate from it, you stop reacting to life and start commanding your energy. That's what the Stoics meant by true freedom. Not owning things, but owning yourself. Live by a code, die by a code. Because without one, you'll live by emotion, mood, impulse. And that means you're not in control. Your feelings are. But the Stoic doesn't wait for chaos to test their character. They decide in advance who they are. That's what a code is. Not rules from the outside, but principles you've chosen for yourself. So when the pressure rises, when people test you, when life gets loud, you don't guess how to respond. You already know. Here's a simple code. You can make it yours, or write your own. 1. I do not react, I respond. My emotions don't make my choices. I do. 2. I do not chase what I cannot control. Time, people, outcomes, I release them. 3. I do not break. I bend, learn, and return stronger. Pressure reveals me. It doesn't define me. Repeat it. Write it down. Memorize it if you have to. Because when you move through life with this kind of internal structure, you stop depending on motivation or mood or external validation. You become your own foundation. And that's what Stoic energy mastery is. Not a lack of emotion, but the presence of something stronger. Discipline, clarity, control. A mind that no longer bows to chaos, but rises above it. And here's the truth. You don't need anyone's permission to live like this. You just have to decide. The world is loud. Your emotions are louder. But you must become the quiet force that moves through all of it. You don't need another motivational quote. You don't need someone to hype you up. You don't even need things to go your way. What you need is a mind that cannot be moved. a mind trained to pause before it reacts, to see clearly when others are clouded, to stand tall while the world shakes, because that's where real power lives. You weren't born to be a slave to your emotions. You were born to lead them, to feel them without obeying them, to acknowledge them without becoming them. That is Stoic energy mastery. So now ask yourself, will you keep living at the mercy of your mood, or will you master the one thing no one can ever take from you, yourself? Be dangerous, be calm, be stoic. If this resonated with you, subscribe, not for noise, but for clarity, for strength, for the calm within the chaos. Leave a comment below. Tell me, what's your code? Let's build a community that chooses stillness over panic, wisdom over reaction, discipline over disorder. Because this world doesn't need more noise. It needs people like you.